On this episode of the Construction Dorks, we talk a little bit about the evolving public sentiment towards data centers and how it's changed over time. But first, we talk a little Heavy Metal Academy and we do a little bit more nostalgia than probably we should. It was a fun episode, though, so please tune in and enjoy.
And we're live. That's right. The Dorks can cast more than once in a while. Well, not really. Actually, it's still once in a while, but
It's once
you
in a
know,
while.
it's summertime.
Twice in 1 year now.
Yeah, twice in
know.
1 year. I mean, if we're gonna start calling it a quarterly show, maybe. You know,
Yeah, this is a quarterly update with the Dorks.
the quarterly sit down with the Dorks. We really did flirt around. I have to say, we flirted around a little bit with this being putting Jonathan on the couch and having an AI discussion and being his AI therapist. But we'll get into that in a second. Is anybody? I didn't even ask in the pre-call. Is anybody drinking anything today, Travis?
It looks like I'm drinking something, but I'm legit drinking like herbal tea. I just grabbed this and I'm like, it's going to look like I am down in some good bourbon, and that is
We were just
tea.
talking about how old we are, and dang it, Jonathan, there you are with your herbal tea. I can't do much better. I've got to be on the road tomorrow afternoon, last big softball tournament of the summer, so I can't have disrupted sleep, so some high quality H2O right here.
Well, I'm going to disrupt my sleep, but I'm not drinking either. I'm just doing a little Celsius because my body doesn't know what time zone I'm in or where I've been, because if you've been flying around this country right now, and I know we have a lot of friends that travel around, man, is it crazy out there. You would think it was dead of winter. The storms of the summer are making summer travel. Literally, it's a crapshoot. I will tell you. I think I've flown 6 or 7 times lately, and I am 6 out of 7 times delayed, rerouted, not arriving when I'm supposed to or where I'm supposed to. So I don't know. You guys have those problems?
Yeah, it was about a month or so ago. I think I was in Tampa doing the MEP Innovation site visit, and there was a giant, they bumped us. Then all of a sudden there was an opening because there was ground stops at O'Hare. They finally got us out and going. And then all of a sudden we're like, no, we can't land in O'Hare, so we're just going to fly up into Michigan for a while. Oh, wait, there is an opening. We're going to jet down over Lake Michigan as fast as we can to get in between this tiny little cell and land. And like, so yeah, that was one of the more wild rides I've had.
That sounds bumpy, Travis.
It was very bumpy.
That. Yeah.
I've
But we made
not to travel other than by car a lot. I've been doing a lot of car. I made a couple of trips up like to Boston and such, but like I've been lucky. I've been lucky thus far. I have not gotten hit yet.
You know what's great though? I have to say I'm a United flyer, and to United, I have made it to my destination and to anything that was important. Maybe with a little less sleep and a little later than I wanted a couple times, but hey, it is the beauty of flying into major cities with multiple airports, though. That is always always makes life a little fun. So, because you can dink and dunk and go to this one or that. Oh, there's a later one to this one. Oh, I'll go to that one instead. So, all right. Well, we digress. But it is summer, and Travis, you brought it up. I think we have to give a little shout out to some summer students. Why don't you tell folks what's going on out there?
Yeah, I haven't been on LinkedIn as much anymore, but I was scrolling today and I was reminded that it is the middle of summer. It is, so I'm looking at the notes Angie sent me recently. They're getting into year 6 of the heavy metal summer experience. And this year they're projected to do 70 different locations and have approximately 1,200 students, which is
Crazy.
enormous. I think we scroll back up from their notes were sent. Like, year 2 they had 11 camps and 125 students. So what are they? That's 10x that they've more or less hit just with the students that they're touching. And what's really nice, I really recommend you go out to LinkedIn, you do some searching, you follow the Heavy Metal Summer Experience. Yes, they're doing awesome videos with the students. They're doing interviews with them and they're whatever. But read the posts, read the comments from the parents that have sent kids to these things. They're very touching. There's some really good heartfelt comments and thank yous and stories inside of that.
Now, do they have their own heavy metal summer experience LinkedIn, Travis? I'm gonna try and look it up here. Maybe we can throw it in the show notes.
Yes, they do. I was just looking at it earlier.
Well, and while you're saying that, I'm going to give a little shout out. And we don't usually talk about our own companies, but we did over here at Bluebeam sponsor. So we are a sponsor of Heavy Metal Summer Experience, and thanks to the team at D Kramer and Pointer, we are testing out the kids playing with. I say playing with because right, it's a summer experience, so they're toying around with tools with Bluebeam a little bit there because we wanted to get behind Angie and the team and support it ourselves. And you know me personally, that was a big thing for me coming over here as part of the trades was getting involved in the future. So super cool too. When I pitched it to the company, she gave me those same stats. And to say that there are 70 locations and 1,200 students that are getting exposed to the trades and what it's like to build things. And that was the same thing. I mean, when they put their deck in front of you to like kind of get you excited to sponsor, you can't leave that not being excited. Like, cause we get sold stuff all the time. And this is one where you're like, come on, sell me,
I feel
baby.
good.
Come on. I
Right.
feel good. Sell me on this one, baby.
I
So,
think those things
it's awesome.
are ultra critical, man. Like when I was a kid, we were open, we were lower income. So they would send you to tech school for 2 weeks in the summer and they'd pay you to go. So as a kid, and I'm guessing like I was 13, 14 years old, they would send you to our local tech school. And I took like electronics and tool and die and carpentry and auto repair. And honestly, man, like some of the more useful courses in my entire life were taken at a tech school when you're like 14. And I think getting those kids involved, getting their hands on, like the next time something breaks in their house, they won't just go to YouTube, they'll have some hands-on experience. And that actually counts too. Like there's a level at which I was visiting some people just recently where I didn't realize how many things people in the trades take for granted that we just know how to fix anyways. Like half of the things that these people were complaining about, I was like going, well, should I just help you fix that? Because we can fix that really quick. Like all we have to do is, and it's like, well, you know what? That's not every family. And Angie giving them a chance to learn the tools, to do some hands-on, to get into it, to not be afraid of it. My son I was working with him on a porch once, and he picked up like a 4-inch grinder, and he says, "This is the only tool that I'm truly afraid of in your entire garage." He says it screams, and every time you use it, you're wearing a face mask, and sparks are flying everywhere. And the second he got to use it, he was psyched. But like sort of getting over that fear uh, of building with your hands, I think helps too, especially with like there are less shop classes now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then in the way that they manage these camps, so everybody has a project and stuff that
Yeah.
they work on. You don't, like you said, a lot of those kids they don't know that they could be mechanically inclined, right? And I'm not talking just like mechanical engineer or whatever, like just the fix it, right?
Yeah.
And once you weld that first joint or whatever, put that
It's
together,
funny.
you kind
I
of.
Yeah, you kind of get it, right, Travis? You get it was funny. I just this morning was like doing the same thing. I've been off LinkedIn quite a bit myself. Obviously, a lot of it auto posts from the show, from the content crew, and I'll always post from here. But I was on a show called The Gaffer not too long ago, and he asked us, what's the one thing you do different? And that's the one thing I didn't grow up with. You guys grew up with that, I think, and used your hands a little bit more. And I never had that. They didn't have those technical schools here where I went to school. They had one, but I wasn't involved in it. So I was really afraid to fix things until I started working around people like you. And actually, I learned it in computers, and I didn't realize you could, then translate that. So John, you said,
Yeah.
this way you don't go to YouTube. Well, I think it's more you go to YouTube and you know what the tools are that they are telling you to
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
And I do not. And
Right.
so I think it's an awesome skill in life in general for you to know um, how to do it. Even if you don't end up in the trade, right? Even if you end up as a designer, to understand what it takes to install something that you design, or you're a manufacturer and what you're building and how it gets, all those things, knowing how it works is kind of important.
When I was going to give you and Bluebeam kudos though as well as Angie continues to build this out, and we've talked about it all along. Like um, being in the trades doesn't necessarily mean you're always swinging a hammer or running a grinder, right? Right. There's a lot of different aspects that go into being construction, and those trade workers need to know those tools as well. So getting them some exposure. And maybe you get that kid in the camp who's like, ah, man, I don't know if I want to hang conduit and pipe and duct work my entire life. But look, like now I understand that there is a BIM component too, right? Or what have you, design or whatever. So yes, I can start my career going through the trade schools or through the school, um, the union schools, and I can work my way into one of these other positions that maybe is more appealing to me. I got to start somewhere, right? I got to understand the process. I got to understand the work that's there. I got to know how to put together a squared around and you know all that fun stuff. But there is another path for me.
Yeah, there's another place I can go. And also, that's, to us, that was what was important. Was It's also important that those kids, when they get out there, we've said this over and over again, right? Like, a lot of the knowledge is leaving the industry. A lot of that is pretty basic knowledge. Like, how do you read the plans? What do they mean? What am I looking at? And it's so funny because, like, still to this day, I mean, it's what I do for a living, is work for Bluebeam, and I'm out in there, and I really still struggle with plans, like reading them. And that's why I was one of the early. BIM makes so much sense to me because 2D to 3D was so hard for me. But I think, had I learned it, been exposed to it then, you just understand the craft and understand what's going on more. And that's what the way we said this. And by the way, anybody listening that has like input or feedback, like how could we do better as, Bluebeam itself, or just in general introducing it? Because it was like, we don't want to just say, hey, let us give you training on the tool. That's not fun. It's like, how could this tool teach anything that goes along with what they're doing? So we're just trying stuff out right now. But in the end, I hope that it's, hey, these are the fundamental things you need to be able to do. Oh, by the way, you're doing it whatever tool it might be, whether you're learning how to be a project manager and you're doing it in some system, or you're learning how to read plans and you're doing it in Bluebeam, or whatever it might be. Um, Maybe hope to God you're not learning how to read specs. We'll leave that till you're already pot committed.
We're pretty sure you're not going to have to do that. That's something we're going to let AI do for us. It's too many pages. There's a lot of things we cut off, but that one's probably going away.
I hope. I honestly hope you're right there, Jonathan.
Well, I mean, you got to like.
Right.
I think it's awesome that you're showing them Bluebeam. I hope that you show them like Bluebeam's even got like 3D PDFs and stuff too.
Yep.
But there is this evolution of how we communicate how we want to build a building. You know what I mean? Like that's all a drawing is. A drawing's like a huge infographic about how we want to build a building. I can remember being an engineer and actually getting pissed that the drawing that was the way I wanted to build the building was not getting built by the contractor the way I wanted to build the building. And then he told me that it doesn't work that way and you can't build it that way. But like the progression from, hey, you have to draw it by hand, to, hey, you can draw it with a machine, to, hey, you can model it. And then you can make these drawings because this is how we've always communicated a building. And I think we're finally getting to that point. Like there is a threshold where you're like, we don't need to use the traditional way of communicating and delivering a building anymore. We can look at model only delivery. We can look at, I remember thinking it was like fascinating. Australia was delivering all the material list and you were just bidding the labor. Like they were like, the materials are fixed. We already know that. We have a BIM that tells us the materials. Still obviously think that's silly now that I'm I learned that a long time ago, and now I'm like, oh, I know you don't know because we have to redraw all the drawings when we get them anyways. I
Right.
mean, even then we're not right. The person who actually installs it pretty much hates us um, for missing all the things that we do. But it is an evolution, and I think that um, I think like anything else, we've been moving more and more towards being able to communicate digitally rather than analog. And you know, did you at Hill Group, or sorry, at Helm? I didn't think you did this at Hill, Travis, but at Helm, did you guys build physical mock-ups a lot? Because we did that at Spader.
We we did not. Um, I mean, maybe a one-off here and there, but we did not do a lot of those mock-ups. Most of the stuff was all in BIM. Even when we're going to do things like simulations of of modular installs, like a lot of that was using the tools inside of the primarily Autodesk platform to animate all that. Um, I mean, we did have a 3D printer, and we would 3D print parts and pieces here and there, and I'm trying to remember if we like even printed any like small mechanical rooms or anything. We didn't do that a lot. We didn't do a lot of those mock-ups.
They did like in the well, like General Electric. We had an engine plant next to us that did research and development on train engines. They built a giant engine out of wood. In fact, I was over there basically arguing with them when the scanners first came out that I can do this better with a scanner than you can do with wood, and we did, and that's what it turned into, and that's what scanners have turned a lot of that early stuff into. But like I still remember like trying to figure out PEX for a building that Spader was building, and they just built an actual unit because they knew they were going to do like hundreds of them. And they're like, we don't trust the modeling enough to just do it in a model. We're going to actually build it physically in the shop and then bag tag, fab it out. And I would say nowadays, no one's going to do it. Like maybe if you don't have any BIM, but if you have BIM, you probably trust it enough now to do, like, I would easily trust it enough now to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? But back then it was
Sure.
an iffy proposition.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and so I was kind of thinking more like full mock-ups, but yeah, if you may build out an example of a run of something or example. I You could do a lot of that stuff pretty easily and cheaply in your shop as an example
Yeah.
and work off of that.
That's funny. I haven't seen a lot of mock-ups actually over time. Although coming from the masonry space, obviously where I started, we did a lot of that in the very mini. That's a lot harder, and that I think they're probably still doing that because there's not a
Oh,
lot of. Uh, I remember saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do masonry and BIM," and somebody looking at me at the company and being like, "You're probably right about a lot of things, but not that one." And I'm like, yeah, there's just too much variation to the masonry work. So,
I wonder if they're probably still doing a fair amount of it on the architectural side. Obviously, probably not for the large projects because I think those folks are kind of used to getting their models in 3D. But I think back to like was it the Brady Bunch? He wasn't he? I remember the Brady Bunch movie. He was an architect, and like he would carry around his little example
yeah.
of the burger hut or whatever he was making. I wonder if some of that stuff still happens.
I'm sure it does, man. I'm sure it does at scale. I just think I don't know. I think because we mentioned we were old, we got nostalgic real quick. So we should probably get out of the nostalgia. Somebody
yeah,
asked about first computers, and I like figured out what mine was. The senior partner, two 5-inch floppy disks. You turned it on, you loaded the first one to get the computer to actually start. And the next one was like whatever game or application you were trying. And then I looked at that, I'm like, God,
yeah. I want to say it was a video game console that was like a Coleco that ran that way that we did, and everything was you put it in and then you put the next one in, and it was like, I swear it's like where we did like Oregon Trail,
oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I also have my first frustration of there was one when I had to be like 12 years old, and you coded it all, and at the end like a T-Rex was supposed to walk across the thing, and a couple I want to say it to me it was thousands of lines, but I was 12, right? So let's look at how that really is. It's probably like a couple hundred lines. We never got it to work because we couldn't figure out where in that 100 lines, 500 lines of code we went wrong. And I was like, I'm never going to use these things. And of course, fast forward, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
One of my favorite memories of that stuff is there was a game that was called Sopwith Camel. It was like a World War One flying game, like the old biplanes and stuff like that. So you had the scrolling, and you had to just basically go up and down and bomb stuff. Well, I think our computer lab in the high school had the X386s at the time, and then
Oh
they
my gosh.
upgraded to the X486. And then you couldn't play the game because the plane flew too fast. Because because the processor was now running so much faster than the old one. It's like, they didn't think that part through. Or maybe they couldn't. Maybe they probably it's one of those unintended consequences.
I think in order to run the first CAD system, you had to have an S on it. So it was like a 46S, right? I don't know. I can't remember back that far. Might have been that. I remember having to get like AutoCAD 12 and get it installed. That was a pain in the ass.
I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I was, we used, so I used a real true word processor that was attached to a typewriter in college.
Yeah.
So you could edit the line you were on and you get through a certain amount of lines and then you hit it and it actually did the print. But it was a typewriter. Like it did it typewriter style with the ribbon and everything. And then I remember when Word and Excel came out. But let's see, did any of you guys early on find the flight simulator? Do you remember the flight simulator that was the Easter egg hidden in Excel?
Yes, Spy Hunter was in there too. Spy Hunter was in there? Yes, Spy Hunter was in there because that was my favorite one. And it was older, though. I was probably actually working somewhere by then. But Spy Hunter was there. You went down to a cell, you filled it out, you double clicked, I think. I don't know. You can look it up online, but that was awesome. That made me so happy.
The good old days.
Oh, man.
There's no Easter eggs in anything nowadays.
No. Microsoft officially banned them. They officially banned them, but you know what? There are still hidden Easter eggs places. I do know coders that still hide one or two in there. They're a lot less dramatic than a flight simulator built into Excel. And no, kids, if you're listening, you're going to have to go get Excel 97 if you can find it to find the flight simulator in it.
I'm proud to say that one of my first jobs as a software developer, I built in an Easter egg. We were doing Six Sigma like rankings, and we were looking at the graph. I'm like, there's a tic-tac-toe board in here. So the guy and I that were working on it were like, so if you click in a certain number of cells, the game would say, get ready to play, and you'd play the computer against the computer in tic-tac-toe.
That's awesome.
I was constantly trying to
hopefully
get
Honeywell isn't running that system anymore.
I got to meet Armand from Revisto a couple times, and I was constantly like, hey man, could you just give us some Doom characters and some weapons, because everybody will memorize that floor plan if we can battle each other in it. Because he had built that on Unity, and it's like, hey, we could do Unreal Tournament in our buildings, and that would be like, I'm not even kidding. You would definitely remember all the rooms of the building if people were hunting you through them. That's not allowed,
right?
But
John, I had to go look just to be sure, and there it is. It's called Dev Hunter. A secret 3D arcade driving game hidden in Excel 2000.
2000. Okay, so it was later because yours was 97.
Yeah,
right.
Mine was 97. If anybody's listened to me tell my college stories, it's really quite funny. But that Excel is the whole reason, like, I got my degree, basically, because that was the one thing I could do was make Excel do whatever we wanted on all the graphing. And when you get a biology degree, how you're showing your findings and your results was key to your presentation. And so I could make the computer do pie graphs and bar charts and with our data. So was a reason some of the smarter folk maybe wanted me on their team, not because of my devishly good ability to pipette or whatever it might have been at the time, which wasn't very good, to be honest.
Yeah, it's amazing how long Excel has made it. And there was Lotus 123 before it, but like Excel has definitely passed the test of time.
All right, we are gonna have to get out of nostalgia, but before we do,
Oh,
what
quickly,
was your first email program? What was your first email program?
Mine was Lotus 123, or
Me
Lotus
too.
Notes eventually.
Lotus 123.
For email?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think mine was that. Uh, I actually, surprisingly enough, I think mine was um, like AOL's email was the first time I
Mm.
had email. So
Mhm.
like my AOL account, I think was my first email. I might have had like an account at Edinburgh University somehow, but I can't remember which came first.
I worked a summer gig at Johnson and Johnson as an intern in the records department, and that was my job. Was they had this new email system thing, and it was my job to email the records company that was part of the is part of Johnson and Johnson, but where they stored the actual files was to email them the box numbers that legal was requesting or whoever was requesting, and that was my job. Is I would email them that, and then I would go down with a printout of my email, and I'd mark them off the boxes, and then I'd bring the boxes up and I'd distribute them to whoever it was that ordered their box of files. So we were digitally ordering physical files, man.
Nice.
Crazy, very crazy.
Yeah, that was my summer internship. Uh, First and last time I had to wear a tie to work. All right,
It's time to bring
boys.
it back.
It's time. No, I am not bringing ties back, my friend. Mm-mm. Um, I like the tech tuxedo much better. The sport coat and some sort of easy chill
Right.
shirt. That's the way for me. All right. So we covered the heavy metal summer experience. Shout out to Angie. If you guys don't remember, she was actually on the show and talked about it. Episode 72, Dorks Go Heavy Metal. I looked it up while we were talking, so you can go learn more about exactly where the impetus of the program was, and just definitely reach out to him and support them wherever you can. If you got ideas, let us know or let her know. What else are we seeing? I dare I say, but Travis, we're gonna go back to you again. You were talking about this hyperscaler data center world. I think it hit its first. We're gonna call it a speed bump. What are you guys hearing right now?
Yeah, I think that you're seeing a lot of, at least what we're getting from at SmackNet, kind of the political advocacy end is you're seeing a lot of local grassroots, and some ways all the way up to state level. I think New York State just put a temporary moratorium on building new data centers because people are concerned about water. I think water mostly, but a large portion of it is the energy consumption and what that's doing to their rates. Um, so there's a lot of scrambling because I think that my assumption is a lot of these things are still going to get built, right? I think they're just going to either need to. You're starting to see some. I'm trying to think of where I just was. One of our technology committee meetings we were just at, somebody had a couple of models and a couple of examples of basically a data center with a small nuclear reactor at the top, right, as part of it. Like, so people are trying to solve this problem in a lot of clever ways. Um, there, I think that what was it probably, and maybe Jonathan, you know this part better. 8 to 12 months ago, there was this big shift to more liquid cooling, um, push, and now they're starting to say, well, maybe we can do better with air cooling from a water, and but that sometimes can bump up your electricity consumption. So I think there's a lot of debate going on what's the best design. You've anybody that's listened to this long enough knows my philosophy with anything is the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, right? There's probably somewhere in the middle that we can land that handles all these because I don't think that, again, I think we all listen to a lot of different podcasts and follow up to things like you either hear AI is going to replace everything and do everything, and we're all going to be without a job, and we need universal high income, according to Elon Musk, or you're here, the AI bubble's ready to pop, right? This thing's not going to play out. Token maxing, all this stuff, all these industries are starting to realize, Ford pulled back all of their engineers that they fired because the AI wasn't, I think, again, the answer is somewhere in the middle. So I do think that these critical projects are still going to get built. I think that they may look a little different. And one of my things that I would always talk about, because as a SMACNA representative, one of the concerns is always like the small and medium sized companies. How are they supposed to compete in this world? And my answer always was, there's always going to be a lot of little things that get built around the data centers. I think that they're just going to have a bigger part in that stuff earlier. And not to mention, like, even if you are um, a DSI, a Southland, this or that, like, you're not going to be able to spin up capacity in every single market everywhere. You're going to rely on your local partners. And I think that's where, selfishly, I'll plug associations again. Being a member of the association, you have peers in a region that you can work with. So that's where my mind was going. Like, I do hear a lot of angst from contractors worrying that these projects are going to go away. I hear a lot of angst from small and local communities because a lot of these places get put in the rural areas, the concerns. And I can't discount those concerns. I mean, I would be very worried if I felt my water supply was threatened. So, but I don't think that this is stopping. So that I think they'll find an answer that hopefully quells some of those concerns.
Yeah, I would agree, man. That so we're clear. Governor Hochul in New York put a moratorium on any future approvals. So they're not giving out permits from here on
Mm-hmm.
out. So what is already permitted is already moving
It's still going to go
and
forward.
will continue to move through, because I think that one of the smarter decisions to be made, because you really don't want to cut something off mid process that has much more deep rooted effect, especially given what can happen from it. So I think the idea of putting a moratorium on the permitting process is a good idea. I'm with you, John. I'll be interested to get your take on it as well. But I've heard the small nuclear reactors. I've heard about the completely closed systems and using less water than, say your average golf course would use to truly do it and treating itself. And but then also the big ones, the draw on the power grid, and then displacing that, cost off to people. We already got enough inflated cost everywhere, no matter where your politics lie. Things are more expensive right now, and that's not what we need for the average person at this point in time. Um, but I think there's something in the middle. I also think if you really take a step back, okay, data centers are data centers, right? At a point, we're going to reach like capacity, right? We're not going to have, we're not going to build data centers forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I mean, yeah, we'll probably replace the ones that are there, right? But we will move on, but we need innovation anyway. We haven't innovated enough in that world and looked at it enough. So I think maybe this demand might drive us to some innovation in power consumption. I mean, if you think about the amount of power we lose due to the way it's been done for years, maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe there's somebody way smarter than me. I just sit on a microphone here, way smarter than me. That's like, hey, by the way, we can do this. And you're like, oh, wow. So hopefully that's some of the positive after effects. But John, where was your head at?
I'm really bubbled, I'd say at the moment. Like I'm somebody that's primarily hearing a lot of just mixed messages. Like you said, like, oh, it only takes a little water, but I've heard it only takes a little energy, and then they look at the energy consumption, they go, no, it obviously takes a lot of energy. So I feel like there's a lot of mismessaging around it. I totally agree that it is severe. Like, the only thing that's going to stop data centers from being built at the rate that they're built is if we have a technological change in the way processing is done for a huge for AI plus some other aspects of compute. So if compute changes the way that it's done, maybe like they don't get built. but I see them getting built. I also, you know, I unfortunately think I think more of the fear is about the speed at which things are going. Like when fracking came out, I probably said this. I looked at ones that are using like pool filters, and there's a little valve around the back that empties into the creek just in case there's an overflow, and there's sort of shenanigans that go on. And I think that one of the things that America's good at is we get regulation in there eventually. Like it doesn't happen instantly. We're not awesomely, we don't act as fast as maybe technology is advancing right now, but we do a good job of getting regulation in there. And they're, like you say, closed loop system, you change from water to running something else in it that's just as efficient or more efficient than water, that doesn't drop out into the environment in a bad way. I think there's like I think it sounds funny. I think a lot of people are waiting for AI to tell them what the solution to being more efficient is. And I wouldn't even like, that's one of the other messages is you don't need innovation anymore. We have AI. It's just going to know everything and tell us everything. We just got to wait for this AGI stuff. And so like I do think there's a level at which they're probably spending a good amount of AI resources trying to figure out how to make this more efficient. So like get there faster, man. Like get there faster. But I do get missed messages. I was going to ask you guys, what's the attitude? Because I don't know what the attitude is towards data centers outside of my bubble right now. The attitudes towards data centers inside the bubble of like small startups that I talk to and this and that, unless they are in AI, it's toxic. They very much are negative. So like I feel like that's just the crowd that I happen to be hanging with at the moment. Like, how do you feel the contractors are receiving AI as like an overarching thing within the world, Travis?
Well, I think that most of the contractors I talk to are are very sensitive to the concerns, but also they're business people, right? They're trying to remain positive about what sort of impact this might have on their business, because um, especially in certain areas, we've talked about this when it comes to labor. Like a lot of these companies have pretty much moved away from their core business to take on some of these jobs. So if they start to dry up, they're gonna have some real problems. So I think there's concerns there. And again, they're not discounting any of the like the local municipality concerns. It's just like, well, I have a project to be built, and yes, I understand that we're worried about consumption and everything like this, but I employ 700 people. Like, I have to worry about them as well. So it's kind of like that, that
They're
those
selling
conversations.
shovels.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. I haven't talked to the few that I know recently. I know a few that are very involved in like the battery plants, and those have kind of really kind of slowed down too. And I haven't talked to them recently to know how that's affected their business. And I mean, that's a whole other issue, right? The market demand wasn't there for those components, so the company shifted. But to hear how it really impacts a company that kind of gears up to go after some of this big work when that work gets either shuttered or slowed down. We've all heard, hospitals that get shuttered for a year and a
Oh yeah.
half. Yeah, that's one thing. But when you've got this $2 billion data center
Yeah.
or whatever that gets the plug literally pulled on them, like, you know, we all want we all want a healthy environment for our families and our children, but we also want a healthy economy. And like again, that's where those things have to find a way to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So
But to answer your question, I don't think that they see it as toxic. It's just a business problem to solve right now.
so it's a funny thing. I've gotten to be outside of our world quite a bit lately. It's actually been quite fun. A lot of my travels for personal stuff these days, because you guys don't know how the summer conference season works, right? You don't go places in the summer because construction's getting done. People are working, so I'm getting to talk to a lot more people outside of our bubble. And it's John, you're kind of right. It's interesting. There's these they run in packs together too. It's quite, I mean, obviously we're humans are pack people, right? So we look
Yeah.
for our people, and we look for people who think the way we do. And you have these groups of people that are just, I mean, it's like AI is the new crack, and they cannot get enough of it, and they cannot try enough ways to use it and places to use it, and using it everywhere. And they spend their time talking to each other about how they use it and how they can do this with it or that with it. Um and then there's this other group that's starved, and it's funny because they'll show me, they're like, I can spot AI now in a second,
Hmm.
and they're tired of it. They're like, I just want this person to send me an email with a few bullets in it, and like, let's go. We don't need all of this. I don't need this to do this. And then there's the interesting ones that are starved, I would say, for exactly the middle. Like, can somebody tell us what the best thing we can do to be prepared for actually using this? And tell me the reality of, like, it's gonna be good at this and it's just not at this. And like, how can we have I want to call it a strategy, but it's like, because you don't know exactly where it's going to go. It's not a full strategy plan, but it's more of it's like a preparedness plan.
Yeah.
And I actually think we're going to see a few good companies, like good groups, come out of this that sort of figure something out that, like, oh, this really does work. And it's not a lot more than like automation, right? Like, it's what automation
Hmm.
did to us. It was the ones who could figure out, like, oh, if I set up my inputs and my outputs right, and I set up my process right, I can automate a lot of this. I was never at a company that did that then like fired all those people. Like, it was like, wow, you can chase that in. Like, a lot of the early AP automation, right?
Yep.
APAR was like one of the earliest places that we saw it. It was like, oh, great, I can chase these bills that are, not getting paid, or outstanding invoices. I can correct these things that were wrong. I can, see a paycheck that's not going to, so and so's paycheck's going to be, why is it 8 hours? It's always 80 hours. Oh, there's, like,
Right.
I think they're starved for that. And I think we're going to see a few rise to the top that can figure out how to get not just businesses in our world, by the way, like this whole out, like construction guys, by the way, like, this is not the first time, but we're not behind. We're in the shitter with everybody else. Like, this is the wild, wild west shit show. Anybody who tells you they've got this sucker nailed, be careful.
We're still at the GeoCities stage, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're a little bit. Maybe we're actually AOL homepages now, but like where we're at, and well, I don't know. I kind of debate that myself as I talk about it, because if you think about AI or machine learning, that stuff's been around for 60 years. Um,
Yeah.
what we're
Well,
seeing from a consumer standpoint, we are, in my mind, we're kind of at the, maybe we've made it to Windows 3.1 or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, it just started to be able to do work when it hit, like when the agent starts. That's when you're
Mhm.
starting to be able to do some work with it. I was more trying to get the general feel. Like, there's a general feel that, I've been looking a lot at automation, and I was always looking at that from the fab shop standpoint. But this allows you to automate things a lot faster. And one of the things that we did find out during sort of the automation revolution was some things you don't want to do that with,
Yeah.
because it de-skills people. Or a good example is like, uh, last emergency or automatic pilot for planes. Okay, so it was an actual studied one. Automatic pilot for planes. If it's two hands off, when there's an emergency and they grab back onto the reins, they push the wrong way or they pull the wrong way. So what they actually figured out is we have to balance engagement and
Mhm.
automation. And it's not been something that we've had to worry about a lot lately, moving up to this point. We've lost some skills. Like, I don't know that anybody can find their way around town the way they used to without their GPS. I know people that literally been driving the same place for like 50 times, can't remember how to get there if their GPS isn't on. So we've kind of offloaded some stuff for sure, but this is the first time where it could be a lot of stuff really fast. And I think we need to be, I don't know where we need to be. I don't know if we need to be overly cautious. Like you said, I'm sitting here from where I sit trying to figure out what are the rules of thumb for dealing with this. Cause I like to have at least some rules of thumb. Like, okay, these are the big no's and this is the big yes. And Travis, when you talked about the contractors, I said shovels. Cause one of the big things I see is, well, okay, man, everybody and their brother has told me this is a gold rush. Everybody should sell shovels. So who's selling the shovels? And contractors are. You can't do what you want to do with AI without us. It's so fun that we
Right.
get to. Now, we're no longer as unionized as we were. So there's not the power control that was there once. But still, the primary source of labor that's needed to extend AI is contracting. So like we're selling shovels right now. And I also get the thing about the environment. I guarantee there wasn't shovel shops going, my shovels will only be used for ethical things, or people burning down shovel shops because their shovels were used in unethical ways. We don't do that to tool makers. We just don't. Like strip mining tool makers do not put up with protests. Okay. The strip mine does. And AI is a tool that could be really dangerous and destructive and all that stuff, but it's how we use it. It's not it. You know what I mean?
Well, Jonathan, we normally do not go back. Like we don't remember we in the beginning. That's why we started the show. We don't have to explain what BIM means, but what you mean is in the gold rush.
Oh,
the people who were guaranteed to make money were not the miners. It was people selling them shovels. So just so we're clear on like, because there's a few people out there going, what the heck is he talking about?
There's at least one person
for?
that like shovels is also the name of an API and platform that will get you permitting information that's super freaking valuable. Shout out to Shovels for doing an awesome job. But like, that's not what I meant.
That's freaking funny. Shout out to Shovels.
Literally, Shovels is selling data to AI. Okay. And if you want to know like what AI needs other than, data centers, it's data. So like, I even dig the name. I don't think they meant it that way, but like, I'm taking it that way.
I don't think they did either, but I think you're spot on. I want to take this. I want to draw a kind of a, like, so this just came to me while we were talking about it. And I think I don't want to call it a problem in our industry because honestly, it's really not a problem in our industry. It's just how growth change, the things happen, right? Everything changes over time, right? And so you said it, like, let's just say, for instance, the data center thing truly slows down, right? Like almost, I wouldn't say screeches to a halt, but we see the cliff a coming. Something else is going to replace it, right? It's always what happens. I know we're seeing advanced manufacturing come back. You will see more of the infrastructure projects that maybe we didn't have enough people for will go to there. Is there a moment in all of this where somebody goes, shit, why don't we make this stuff like it doesn't really matter what the boom is or the thing that we're building? Like, are they truly that different in all of those cases? Like, can we start thinking about the way we design, the way we build? I mean, dare I go back to design for manufacturing and assembly, Marsh, but like, do we take a moment? Do we ever take a moment to be like, we're not just going to keep chasing the next shovel to sell, and we're going to figure out like sustainability from a building things perspective, right? I'm trying to really use my words carefully there so they're not like misconstrued. Do we ever, because like, if you take a step back, like a lot of the stuff we build today looks pretty similar to stuff we built before, way more advanced. I get you. Like stadiums are way more advanced, but we keep building stadiums, right? Laboratories are way more advanced, but we still keep building them. I don't know. Is there a chance
I,
for that,
I
or am
don't
I
know.
just
I mean
nuts?
that's I mean that's for me that's a like a really deeply philosophical question because we as humans we value novelty and uniqueness, right? So that was always one of the things that you would get pushback from the design community. I just remember early on when you're talking about like modular buildings or whatever. It's like, well, I don't want to make the same building all the time. Okay, we'll make the outside different. Well, it's not. I mean, and every owner wants their building to be unique, and um, I do think I do feel like there's an opportunity there. And I think what you're kind of saying is like, again, like let's just build modular buildings. This building could be a data center, or 2 years from now, it could produce widgets, or the year after that, it could be whatever.
Well, maybe I'm
Um,
thinking maybe I'll push it even a little bit further. It's like, okay, we're racing into the data center boom. Okay, and what hit us? Oh, water, wastewater, right? Like we were consumption of power. We're consuming too
mhm.
much power. We're putting a strain on the water systems. I'm gonna hazard a guess because we were in a rush to get ahead and build them. Well, what's the next rush going to be? Jonathan, what made me think of it is you said fracking and using pool filters. Like,
Yep.
fuck, we can't do that anymore. Right? Like, at what point can we say, as like a sort of a society and the people who build it, we're going to go down those routes, but going to we're going to take a
I
series of
just
theories
don't.
with us that we're just not we're not going to lie to ourselves that it's going to take cooling. It's going to take power.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Am I
don't know. I don't
nuts?
know if I'm in the right. I don't know if I'm in the right mindset or same frame of mind. But like, I just think that some of that is just the struggle of the way that innovation happens. Like, I think I've got a good idea. Holy shit, this is a good idea. Holy shit, this is a really good idea. I'm going to scale up. Oh fuck, I've created a bunch of problems.
Yeah. John, I think it's because of the book you made me read recently, by the way, which I don't think you even finished yet, but I
Which one?
certainly did. It was the constraints one.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Epstein.
yeah,
Inside the
Yeah.
box by
yeah.
David
Yeah,
Epstein.
yeah,
If
Yeah,
yeah.
y'all are
it's a very
out
good book.
there
Yeah.
and you really want to like catch on with where my head at least is, I could not get that book to the end of that book fast enough, Jonathan,
Yeah,
because
and I think
It's a good book.
the reason he brings us up for people that haven't read the book is one of the things it points out is if you want to be creative, give yourself some constraints.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of us have sat down with those people that are like, oh, if you give me all the options and all the money in the world, I'm going to not be able to do anything. But if you give me like a
Right.
shoestring and a deer horn, I'll build you a building. Because there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of freedom in working within constraints too. Anyways, good book. You should definitely read it.
It's a very good book.
Yes.
Little teaser. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but
Don't get it.
he
Say
may
it.
appear at he may appear at the next MVP Innovation Conference,
And has been there before. For
and has been there before.
yeah. Um,
if you
no,
didn't read his first book, what was his first book? You guys are better at remembering
Range.
the title.
Range.
Yeah,
Range.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
range. Inside the
It,
box is awesome, man.
yes, it's a really good book. I know where you're coming from with sort of like how do you figure out what the next thing that's going to be needed is, and I think that I think like I said, I'm trying to build like what I think is best. I think one of the things that if you want to know what that is, you have to decide to be an expert at AI. Because that will tell you like the people that figured out what to do after the gold rush were the people that were an expert at gold. So they understood what all those miners were doing, and then they said, "Wait, I'm going to use the same process on a different metal, and then I'm going to use it on a different metal." And now I've got so good at doing this, I can mine inexpensive metals and still make money because instead of being interested in getting the gold and putting it in my pocket, I was interested in the process of getting gold. So by the time you guys got gold and we spent all the money getting the gold, I could use that same process to build other things. I feel that's why
Yeah.
we did tech at Spader. I used the money from our industrial department to fund my experiments that later got moved to the commercial after they were efficient enough to support work at that pay rate. Because like a scanner, you don't buy a scanner to do a residential building, but if you have a scanner, oh my
You could,
gosh,
yeah.
yeah, golden ticket, man. So like I think in a real way, if you study how AI is supported, what it needs. It needs communication, it needs power, like break it down into the simplistic things, start studying those processes. I think you end up being those people that figured out how to mine really inexpensive stuff, because they could just mine so well. They were so kick butt at that. And I do think, like, I don't like to be on the upside of AI right now because it's getting a lot of negative from my friends. But I do think that it's going to drop down some technologies. So, like, we're doing a lot to learn how to build right now. Every contractor is looking to build a fab shop. If you want to see what brings, industrialized contracting in, it's going to be a gold rush like this, because we can afford to we can afford to buy welders that are automatic and set up fab shops and get square footage and train people on these processes. And when the data centers go away, we can build your hospital really fast, really accurate.
That's awesome. Hang on,
Though
pause.
data centers are
Travis, you got to refresh. So I like that, John, because that's what I was hinting at, is that if we use this time like the gold rush to get better at gold mining, then we can mine other things. And you just said it. This rush right now for the data centers and a couple of others, the EV battery, those battery plants. I think we're seeing some other advanced manufacturing entering in. And it's giving us the gold rush to build the fab shops, to build the offsite capacity, to learn how to do it better. And you just said it. Okay, great. This means I can build your hospital faster. I guarantee it's going to be able to adjust and build your water, wastewater treatment better. It's going to be able to build your power stations better because we're there. So, okay, maybe we actually are headed in the right direction here. I just hope that collectively if and when things change, as they always do, we take those lessons and we keep going. But the good news is, if they've built those shops and they have that capacity, they're going to be driven financially to push that capacity, which I think drives the market as well. So we wrapped it up in a bow. Travis, any final thoughts other than, do you say pitch them straight in softball? I don't know what you say in softball other than what you got to do.
Just pound the zone. Just pound the zone. That's what we do with our pitchers. As we were kind of going through some of the stuff and some of this earlier, like I know Jonathan sometimes gets into the dystopian AI doom and gloom. I don't know if either one of you. I'm gonna move this over here so I can read it. I don't know how many folks, if you still listen to the Joe Rogan Experience very much, but he had Mark Andreessen on a few months ago, and there's a bit he talked about when he pushed back against some of this AI doom stuff that I've asked AI to summarize for me. So he calls it the Netflix script context. So Andreessen used this comparison to push back against AI doomer narratives. He argued that AI systems have no inherent goals or survival instincts. Because LLMs are highly responsive to prompts, they will generate scenarios ranging from a helpful cancer diagnosis to a dystopian, self-preserving villain, entirely depending on what the user asks for. As Andreessen noted, if an AI appears to have an agenda or acts rogue, the call is coming from inside the house, meaning it is just following human-provided context and replaying dystopian sci-fi narratives it was trained on. So I think that just speaks to, especially if we're focusing a lot on LLMs and just where they are now, like a lot of the problems that we feel we're having with AI probably come from how we're using it, right? What is it? This is an old construction adage. It's a poor craftsman that blames his tools or something like that, right? Yeah. I think that if we just learn to work with it better, and I was guilty of it. I produced a lot of AI slop and made myself a lot dumber for a while before I really realized how I wanted to use it as a tool.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to give a plug to the Contact crew, by the way. Mark Andreessen is Andreessen and Horowitz, biggest investment, I think the largest investment, one of, and they picked a winner in Contact called Endra AI, ENDRA.ai, and they will be, Nicholas Lindgren, their CEO and founder, will be on the Contact crew on August 4th. So by the time this comes out,
cool.
Just jump over and take a look, because I'm man, I was blown away not only by the tech but the company. So, and it was an Andreessen and Horowitz, which made me go, wait a minute. So interesting. John, any final thoughts?
Um, I guess the only thing the only thing I'd say on the doomer gloomer side, just to double down, because you got to double down sometimes, right? Is I don't think the problem's the mechanism, right? That's why it was called open AI, because there was a whole bunch of people that thought the public should have access to this technology before somebody tells it to be a racist douchebag. Like I think a lot of the dystopian ideas around AI aren't around the mechanism. They're around the people that control it and the centralization and the amount of money it takes to build it. If AI was like cheap, local, I don't think you have the same threat as you do when it's corporate at the level that it is. And when I say corporate, meaning a lot of people have their hands in it. So like it's, one of I think the early problems with it was like it was getting history wrong. But if it's that's because it was programmed wrong. So we don't know what it's programmed wrong on. So if we can't control the programming, I think that's where it comes from. I think the actual mechanism's benign. Like you said, it's a tool. You can use it for good or evil. The best thing you could do if you think it's going to be used for evil is use it for good as often as you can, right? Give a good example of how to use it the right way, like you said.
You will train it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wrap us, guys. I think we've hit that point. We had a Scream reference, which is that's the calls coming from in the house, if you didn't know it. ColecoVision, Excel 97 and 2000 hidden Easter eggs. How far are you going back? We're going way back. But we then came all the way back around to the future. So it's always fun, guys. Hey, I'm going to be at AGC Technology coming up by the time this comes out. That's about right when I will be there. So hopefully that's the beginning for me of the next round of conference season. So hope to see you guys out there on the road. You guys going anywhere anytime soon?
I'm going to Stratus Innovate.
I will be somewhere. I think I will be probably MCA Fab. I
I'll
don't
be
think I can
MCA
make it
Fab.
to Stratus Innovate, and then we'll have our national convention in October.
Well, I will see you at MCA Fab, and I will see you at your national convention. I'll be at NICA as well. I'll be at a few of these along the way, so hope to see all you guys out there. Look for us, talk to us. Remember, we are looking for guests. We like to talk to each other, but we'd love to talk to you. So with that, this is the Construction Dorks signing out.